Hey, it's Mikey.
Hi, Morgan.
Me again.
We saw Kick-Ass 2. I liked it. Didn't really like it though.
The best thing I can say about Kick-Ass 2 is it was very much it was worthy of the first movie, but not. But it should have upped its game, and it didn't.
Yeah. I mean, I love the original. I love the first Kick-Ass movie. It's one of my favorite movies of that year. And this one just was it was good as action movies go, but it was underwhelming compared to the original.
This one just took itself a little more, frankly, seriously than the first one did.
Yeah, as Tony said. Take a shot every time they use the phrase "real world" in this movie.
Or not a comic book.
Or not a comic book. When they're actually using comic book as subtitles.
Yeah, that I loved. I love that.
That was a really fun.
Whenever characters spoke in a foreign language, instead of subtitles at the bottom, you'd see word balloons with what they were saying in English. That was genius. I loved that. And there were bits in this movie that I really enjoyed, like you mentioned, the lawnmower sequence, and that's all I'll say about it, because otherwise it's a spoiler.
Yeah.
The lawnmower sequence is probably the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
It's probably the closest it comes to matching the craziest nuts of the original.
I'm going to assume that anybody who's watching this video has seen the first Kick-Ass movie. If you haven't, what's wrong with you? But if you remember how crazy and over the top the climax of that movie was, and you're expecting to see something like that here, you're going to be disappointed.
And to be fair, if you remember the climax of the first Kick-Ass, it was a really hard act to follow. But this film didn't.
This film didn't even try.
Not really.
They had a bigger scene, but at the same time, but somehow they toned it down. So basically, what you get is just kind of people punching each other.
And maybe that was their intent. Maybe their intent was, well, we can't top the first one, so let's bring it down to a realer, more emotional level. But
all the promotional stuff they had, like, they were advertising their new supervillain. They were saying that this was going to up the stakes. That this time everything's on the line. And
it just didn't feel like everything was on the line.
He was much more of a comic villain, you know, and funny due to his ineptitude in a way, in a lot of ways. Like, he's a villain who kind of keeps screwing up, and that's what's funny about it. And that works for a while, but after a while, it just kind of feels not terribly threatening, or like. Honestly, I kept waiting for the people he hired to turn against him. You know, I felt like that's where it was going with that, but...
Because he hired legitimate bad guys, and yet somehow these people remain loyal to him even through all of his bumbling.
Family money was worth it, though. I haven't read the comic this is based off. I read the first one.
I heard the comic just because the people in front of us in line were talking about it. The comic is a lot darker, and in the comic book, the villain is a lot more dangerous.
And not to turn all Doug Walker or anything, but for about half this movie's running time, Hit Girl keeps insisting that she's never going to be Hit Girl again, that she's done with that. And we know every frame of that. We know you're gonna turn back into Hit Girl.
They used her action sequence in the trailer, so we know it's gonna happen.
We know it's gonna happen, and you're just wasting our time with. And you're just wasting our time with all this Mobley shit. I mean, what I really enjoyed about the first one, I love how over the top it was. I loved the comedy of it, loved the action of it. But what I really appreciated about the first one is how well it juggled all the elements. It could have easily turned into just kind of a muddled mess, but everything was done well, and everything kind of fit together, and it segued almost seamlessly from, you know, an action movie to a high school comedy to a suspense thriller to a big overblown cartoon movie. And it's rare that you see a movie with that many elements where it all kind of works together. And that's really what, and you just didn't get that here. There was too much.
It was either the crime fighting part, and there was also the school subplot, which doesn't last too long to film anyway.
Yeah, with some of the most thinly drawn, quote unquote. Well, the subplot is some of the most thinly drawn villains you'll ever see in any film. You know, literally, it's like characters that just exist as stereotype, where you feel like they might as well be saying, "I am the antagonist," and not. I did like
yeah, but those antagonists don't even have, except for the fact that the guy who has a genuine problem with the heroes is paying them, they don't have any legitimate reason to be antagonizing the characters.
Well, I'm talking about the high school subplot.
Oh, yeah.
Which I did enjoy their comeuppance eventually. That was a nice part.
That was amusing.
Yeah.
Very amusing. But
well, the thing was, I thought, just based on what we saw of Hit Girl in the last movie, like at the end where those bullies demand her lunch money and she just kind of cracks her knuckles, I thought we were going to see more of Hit Girl doing that kind of thing in the high school setting, where she's still who she is, but she's not. And dealing with the consequences.
We get a little of that,
well,
yeah.
That's
in one sequence in particular.
That's what the comeuppance for the bullies reminded me of. I thought that was going to be her high school experience, and then the foster father, so to speak, has to deal with that, as opposed to him just basically laying. I didn't like their choice for Hit Girl's arc in this movie. I didn't like the suspense, like she has to give it up. That's not what. That was never the question. That's not
for God's sakes,
the big problem she has to solve.
I mean, for God's sakes, Chloe Moretz is already playing Carrie in the Carrie remake. You don't have to make her Carrie in another movie. It's like, it just felt like that story all over again, which is...
Yeah.
We saw a trailer for the Carrie remake before this movie. It's redundant.
Yeah, well, we get it, though. I mean, yeah, high school is terrifying, and that even for somebody who can do what she can do, high school will throw things at you that you just can't punch your way out of. And I would have liked to see her deal with that as opposed to deal with... Well, the answer is obviously just to start punching people again.
She just solves her problems with violence.
Yeah, she solves her problems with violence, which she should have been doing from the start. I fully support her solving her problems with violence. I just think the whole thing about her coming around to realizing that was disingenuous to her character. I thought that she should have been punching people from the beginning, and that the revelation that doesn't always fix things should have been what she had to realize.
Yeah, I mean, the moment when she decides that, you know, she's not going to Hit Girl anymore, I honestly didn't believe her. I thought she was lying to her foster father.
She used the same word that she used to her actual father, which is like pinky swear or something. So I knew she meant it when she said it. But the problem was, I didn't think that. Maybe just because we haven't
like
seen
it was enough for her to
it doesn't
suddenly
seem
say
like, especially considering what we've just seen her doing. I don't think that one talking to would have been enough to get that reaction out of her. Like, there had to be something else to it.
So, overall though, I did like it, but it's just not as good as the first one, honestly.
Yeah. Agreed. I'd say it's worth a rental, though, I'd say.
Well, I don't regret that I saw it, and I liked seeing the characters again. I just don't think that it did what a sequel's supposed to do, which is take what the first one did and move it to the next level. It needed to do that, and it didn't.
Well, that's our thoughts on this. Goodbye.
And by the way, I disapprove of the violence in this vlog and the talks about violence, and I will not be promoting this vlog whatsoever. So.